We're just a few days away from a big Nikon announcement. Can you feel the tension in the air? We've received a whole lot of leaked photos, a lot of leaked pricing, and a whole lot of leaked detail specifications. But this time around, what I'm noticing is, well, we're seeing an awful lot of fake information as well, fake photos, fake pricing, and some fake specifications. So how much of what we know today is actually true about the Nikon Z8, a product that's supposed to be announced on May the 10th? Well, in this video, I'm going to go through the latest specifications, letting you know what I think is real, what is fake, and all the various, and there's a ton of leaked photos, as well as the leaked pricing information. All that coming up after this short break. But first, please do me a favor. Follow me on Twitter, but most importantly, please subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything, and it really does help this channel grow. And it would really help me get to that magical 40,000 mark. I'm just a couple of hundred subs away. Let's start with the only confirmed and valid information coming from Nikon USA. On May the 10th, 2023 at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, Nikon has a scheduled event. Nikon wouldn't schedule an event 2 weeks out for something, well, like a refresh of the Nikon Z50 or the Z30. No, this is going to be a big deal. This is going to be a big camera, and we really think that it's going to be the Nikon Z8. Take a closer look at this image, right at the bottom, right here, and notice how it turns into an 8 at the very bottom. Still hard to see? Okay, let's dial up the brightness a bit. There you go. There's no doubt now, is there? So while we don't have any confirmed information, this Easter egg from Nikon USA on their scheduled event pretty much points us in the right direction. They didn't hide it all that well. They want us to know that, yes, this announcement, this event is all about the much anticipated, the much desired Nikon Z8, a camera that we've been waiting for the better part of 3 years. So yeah, I'd say that we're at 95% that we are definitely getting the Nikon Z8 along with some lenses and some accessories. But while this image is validated coming from Nikon USA themselves, other leaked images, well, I'd say they're suspect at the very least. On April the 24th, 2023, a leaked image of the Nikon Z8 surfaced that had such a poor resolution, I didn't even cover it in a video. I didn't even tweet it out. There's no excuse for such poor, low-resolution images that are overly blurred, unless, of course, you're trying to hide something. And actually, there is one valid reason to do this. When Nikon USA gives out cameras for people to do reviews or testing or whatever it is, sometimes they'll scratch up the camera in such a unique way that it will identify the person they're loaning it out to. And that way, if that information leaks out, they know where to chase down that person. But there's also a way to fix this in post. You can easily go in and edit this out quite easily. No, I think that these images are overly obfuscated into a way that they don't give us any useful information. We've seen leaked images of, well, Canon cameras, of Fuji cameras that provide a lot more detailed information. This image is highly suspect, as is the next one I'm about to show you. This is a leaked brochure that we got on the same day, April the 24th, and again, the resolution is so bad, the only thing that we can really make out are the titles and, of course, the code name for the Nikon Z8, if that's actually the code name. Think this might still be legit? Well, take a look in the bottom corner, and you can see a Nikon Z9 teaser image in the very bottom, and this came from Nikon's very first teaser. A few days later, we got a leaked screenshot and price. Again, the image resolution was so bad, hiding detail, and the camera, it was a previous fake circulating on the internet. I called this one, and a few hours later, Nikon rumors confirmed that it was a fake. And then a few days later, we got another leaked document showing the image of a camera and leaked European prices. Well, the image of the Nikon Z8 had been doctored, leaving no doubt to its credibility. This information is likely fake. Despite all the fake images of the Nikon Z8, and yes, to date, every single one of them has been faked, I wouldn't be disappointed. Remember, after all, Nikon has scheduled an event for just a few days away, and they did so about 2 weeks ago. We are getting the Nikon Z8. Does it really matter how it looks? Does it matter if it looks like a Nikon Z9 that's just been, well, shrunk down a little bit? No, I don't think so, because what really matters, what always matters, is actually the capabilities of the camera and, of course, the ergonomics. But this is Nikon, so we know the ergonomics are going to be good. But what about the leaked specifications? How accurate are they? The Nikon Z8 is going to have a high-resolution sensor, 45.7 megapixels, it's full frame, and it's going to be stacked, the exact same one found in the Nikon Z9. And the X-Speed 7 image processor, again, the same one found in the Nikon Z9. And the ISO range, this is a little bit surprising. I think it's a little bit on the low side, and it's something I'd expect to see in video. 64 to 25,600. Like the Nikon Z9, it's going to have an electronic shutter only, no mechanical shutter, and it's going to be capable of 20 frames per second lossless RAW. That will give you about 1.2 gigabytes per second. It can also shoot 30 frames per second JPEG and up to 120 frames per second JPEG, but that is at around 11 megapixels. You're not going to be getting 120 frames per second at 45 megapixels. You're going to be able to output in RAW, JPEG, and 10-bit HEIF. Now, one of the bits of information I found a little bit suspect is that it's only going to be capable of 275 shots. I mean, just think about that for a minute. It's just not plausible. Just imagine 20 frames per second, you hold down that shutter button, you've got what, less than 20 seconds, less than 10 seconds? No, I don't believe that at all. This to me seems a little bit fake and suspect. I have the Canon EOS R5, which is where the Nikon Z8 is designed to compete against. And it doesn't matter what my shooting conditions are, what the temperatures are, I can easily get several thousand shots on a single battery charge, and that's shooting high speed. If I'm shooting, one shot and I'm trying to line things up and I'm spending a lot of time with the EVF and the viewfinder, then yes, you're going to see a whole lot less shots. But a rating of 275 shots, I wouldn't let that bother you. Whatever this camera is going to be capable of, it's going to be more than that. It's going to have a pre-release capture, and the shutter speed, 1/32,000th of a second. That's pretty impressive. That's pretty good indeed. My Canon, I think, can only do 1/8000th of a second. The autofocus system is improved over the Nikon Z9. It's supposed to have 493 autofocus points covering a good portion of the frame, 90% by 90%, and that really makes a difference, especially if you're shooting video. And the sensitivity of the autofocus system is from -7 EV up to 19 EV. Now this is the exact same range as the R5, but it starts at around -6 and goes to 20. So why is it a bit more sensitive? Well, I think it goes back to that stacked sensor. Now, in terms of what it can track, subjects and objects, well, like every other camera out there, it's going to be able to do people, head, torso, eye detection. It's going to be able to do animal eye detection. Will it be able to do insect eye detection like the Sony A7 R5? Well, we certainly hope so. It's also going to have a separate mode for, well, tracking airplanes. It's going to be able to do vehicles. It's going to be able to do motorcycles. All the same stuff that the Nikon Z9 can do. So I think in terms of the capabilities of the autofocus system, it's going to be highly capable. The only question is, will they improve the accuracy a little bit more? And I certainly expect so. I certainly hope so. But now let's go to the video specifications. This is the ordinary filmmaker after all, and I just love video specs. Like the Nikon Z9, the Nikon Z8 can do 8K up to 60 frames per second, and we don't have to wait for any firmware update. 8.3K Nikon RAW up to 60 frames per second. Or without Nikon RAW shooting all eye, you can do 8K up to 60 frames per second. And in 4K, we get a whole bunch of goodies. We get 4K up to 120 frames per second. I want to take a look at my notes here because there's an awful lot of information from Nikon rumors, and I don't want to get this wrong. So 4K, 120 frames per second, Nikon RAW. That's impressive. Now, I wonder how they can do that, because RAW is you're getting everything off the sensor. Now, if you're getting everything off the sensor, that's 8.3K, so there's probably some processing involved. But Nikon RAW, again, these are what I'm getting from the rumors. Don't put me on a stake here. We're also getting ProRes RAW and Apple ProRes 422 HQ, and that's pretty much what I shoot in all the time, Apple ProRes 422 HQ. We also get H.265, H.264, but that's in full HD only, so everything else is H.265, N-Log, and HLG. So pretty impressive video specifications. Oh, this seems really, really good. And again, if you look at the Nikon Z9, not a lot of surprises here, because a lot of what is here for the Nikon Z8, we got with the Nikon Z9 in a firmware update. I can't remember which one. I think it was version 2. But now let's take a look at the EVF. The EVF, no surprises here, same as the Nikon Z9, 3.69 million dots, and it's capable of 60 and 120 frames per second refresh rate. The LCD, well, it's supposed to be a 4-axis articulating flip screen, but again, I'm not so sure about this. I'm really not 100% sure. I really like what Sony's done with the A7 R5, and I'd really like that to be the benchmark for cameras going forward. In terms of resolution, it's got a resolution of 2.1 million dots. If they give us a 4-axis articulating flip screen, much like the Sony A7 R5, I'd love them to copy them outright here. I think that would make an awful lot of people happy. I really like that. I think they've done a great job of it. Like the Canon EOS R5, it's going to have one Type B CF Express card, as well as one UHS 2 card, so you can put in V60 and V90 cards. The HDMI slot, well, we don't know if it's going to be full size or not. but it is going to allow 10-bit output. Not as high as the Canon EOS R5 or the Sony A7 R5, but still, that's pretty impressive. One thing I find a little bit interesting, the weight of this camera, 960 grams. That to me seems a little bit higher than it should be. The Canon EOS R5, for example, is a couple of 100 grams less. 960 grams, it seems a little bit overly heavy, especially if the construction of this camera is, as Nikon rumors leaked it to be, some sort of composite. This is another one of those specs which has me a little bit wondering. 960 grams. I think that's right around the same weight as the Canon EOS R3, which is a larger body, kind of same size as the Nikon Z9. I'm not so sure about that. 960 grams. All right, now let's take a look at pricing. Now, pricing information here, we received two sets of pricing information. Both of them from Nikon rumors. The first one didn't survive more than a few hours before everybody said, yeah, this is definitely fake. And the second one appears fake too, because the image that we see in there has some smoothing going on. And again, you're dealing with text here, and we're dealing with a blurry image. No, I don't really believe we have leaked pricing information yet. And even Nikon rumors, they just put out a summary post a few days ago, and they put 3 question marks for pricing, so they don't even know the pricing at this point. I don't know. What do you think? Well, here's what I think. Now, assuming it has a stacked sensor, I'd expect the pricing to be somewhere between $38.99 and $42.99. If it doesn't have a stacked sensor, I expect the pricing to be somewhere between $33.99 to $39.99. I know it's complete speculation, but in a way it isn't. It's like buying a house or anything else. If you're trying to predict or forecast the price of something, all you have to do is look at the current competition, look at what prices are selling at, and then you can easily project. So these price ranges that I'm giving you based on a stacked sensor or without a stacked sensor, these ones right here, well, they're completely plausible. And I think that's what we can go on. Now, we're just a couple of days away. If we don't get a leaked price today, I'd expect one to come by sometime Monday. And then before the announcement, late Tuesday night, I'd expect to get a full set of detailed leak specifications on the camera with some actual photos, maybe even a press release. And then on May the 10th at 7 o'clock in the morning, not 8 o'clock in the morning, at 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to be hosting a live stream where we're going to cover off all the latest leaked information, everything that's come out over the night, all the most plausible stuff. I'm going to have a panel. We're going to review that, but we're also going to say, look, what would we do if we were the president of Nikon? We're going to talk about that leading up to the announcement. And then as the announcement comes, we're going to cover that, we're going to talk about it, and then we're going to do our post-game analysis. And what my plan is to have for you in that second part is I plan to have people who've got hands-on with the camera. So instead of just jumping over to some of your other favorite channels, you'll be able to stay with us for the full coverage where we're going to talk about pre and post. We're going to have people with hands-on talking about the cameras. And then you can probably go off and watch a full day of Nikon stuff, because I think they're going to do what they did with the Nikon Z9. They're going to have ambassadors, reviews, and it's going to be a full day of coverage on the YouTube channel. So I'm really looking forward to that. And if you want to stay up to date on all the latest camera news and rumors, specifically regarding the Nikon Z8, any leaked photos or images, then go ahead and subscribe and choose all notifications. And for all minor news and rumors or leaked information that isn't quite big enough to have its own separate video, well then go ahead and follow me on my Twitter channel, because I can sometimes put out as many as 7 or even 10 tweets a day, whereas on my YouTube channel, I'm limited to 3. That's kind of a YouTube thing. I can put out more, but then they don't notify anybody, so really, what's the point? And I also have links, pre-order links to the Nikon Z8, and you might be wondering, how could I have pre-order links? Well, these are what I call smart pre-order links. So if we get an announcement of a camera, a kit form, multiple kit forms, or other accessories, everything related to the Nikon Z9, this is going to show you all that information. So if you want to go ahead and grab this bookmark, these smart links here, and bookmark them, and then as soon as the announcement starts, refresh those, and that way you can be one of the first to pre-order the Nikon Z8. I'm pretty excited by this, so excited. I don't think I said Nikon Z9 once when I was referring to the Nikon Z8. For some reason, I've been doing that in a few videos, but most of you know what I'm talking about. I even put out a thumbnail where I had Nikon Z9 instead of the Nikon Z8. But that's it for now. I hope you're having a great weekend. We're just a few days away now. I'm looking forward to this. How about you? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. But that's it for now. Have yourself a great weekend, and we'll see you again soon.